espers, primals, aeons, icons, eidolons, guardian forces, just some materia that was lying around. Whatever name they are given, and whatever forms they take, from deeply important pieces of the plot and themes to nothing more than fancy magical spells, the summons of Final Fantasy connect the franchise to various belief systems from around the world, while also giving the player an extraordinary experience, a feeling like you are commiserating with the gods. My name is Drew Kreisman. I am one half of the Final Fantasy Weekly podcast, and these are my picks for the top 10 summons in Final Fantasy history. Number 10, Titan. An embodiment of the enormity of the gods, the Earth Elemental Titan hasn't appeared in as many entries as some of his summoned siblings, but whenever he does show up, he makes an impact, so to speak. Particularly memorable moments that mirror each other come in Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy XV, when Titan takes up the role of the great protector of an entire city. His epic and over-the-top attacks often see him ripping the ground apart beneath the feet of our enemies to cause a massive quake or churn up some rubble so he can use it for target practice. Number 9, Carbuncle. Speaking of offering protection, not all summons can be powerhouse offensive weapons, and Carbuncle is the poster child for support. This adorable critter with the ruby light can use its powers to reflect harmful magics and oftentimes heal the party. Occasionally playing a role in the story, especially in an adorable turn in Final Fantasy XV, Carbuncle has taken many different shapes over the years, and we are always excited to see the next iteration. Number 8, Leviathan. The great sea serpent who shares a name with a biblical behemoth, Leviathan is the most remarkable water-based summon in Final Fantasy. Where many of our godlike friends end up volunteering their services or acting as a kind of guide, Leviathan typically remains hostile to our heroes for much longer and has been responsible for some of the most devastating destruction in the series. Dragon of the Deep, this incredible beast never fails to deliver the spectacle that Final Fantasy is known for. Number 7, Phoenix. The legend of the Phoenix is widely known and not unique to Final Fantasy, but the Final Fantasy version of this creature has created as many unforgettable moments as any other summon. Not so much through the storyline, though we get some intense emotions in Final Fantasy VI, and Phoenix appears to have a starring role in the upcoming Final Fantasy XVI. But most people watching this can think of a time when they were pinned down in battle, and all hope seemed lost. Their warriors of light were incapacitated, and then the Phoenix literally rose from the ashes to save them from a dreadful defeat at the hands of the villains. Thank you, you beautiful bird. Number 6, Odin. The All-Father of Norse mythology, Odin rides into battle, often unprompted, upon the back of his magnificent six-legged steed Sleipnir and lunges with his lance Gungnir. Another creation of ancient myths and legends, Odin as a Final Fantasy summon actually resembles his inspiration, but still feels like his own unique character. One of his most famous storyline moments does feature him getting beaten by Gilgamesh, and by the way, this is my way of giving an honorable mention to Gilgamesh. He still carries with him an air of stoic and intense power. Just ask the people of Clara from Final Fantasy IX. Number 5, Alexander. Summons aren't just based on ancient monsters. Maybe the most unusual of them all, Alexander is not a creature, but a building. Drawing conceptually from the Great Library of Alexandria, this behemoth deals non-elemental damage with its divine judgment, and never fails to impress with its magnificence. Alexander has a few standout moments in this series, but of course the most iconic came during a showdown against another all-time great summon during one of the best scenes of Final Fantasy IX. Number 4, Ramuh. The prime lightning elemental of Final Fantasy, Ramuh isn't just some Zeus knockoff despite appearances. He is often a spiritual guide for the warriors of light and our gateway into understanding the realm of the gods. He is often our first godly friend, like in 6 and 9, when he also gets to play the role of storyteller and arguably even a kind of father figure. With all apologies to Quetzalcoatl and Ixion, who are both fantastic conduits for an electric charge, Ramuh is simply indelible to Final Fantasy. Number 3, Ifrit. Our resident fire demon, Ifrit is as important to the franchise as any other character or symbol, right along with the top 2 entries on this list. Appearing in nearly every title and getting a few fantastic memorable moments, including most of the final act of Final Fantasy XV, Ifrit leaves behind depictions of classic Jin and replaces them with a ferocious visage that can strike fear into your heart even when you know he's on your side. With literal fire in his eyes, he represents the more masculine and violent side of the coin, almost always playing the yin to the yang of his mirrored companion and polar opposite. Number 2, Shiva, our Ice Queen. For some reason named after a Hindu deity with completely different powers and aesthetics, Shiva in Final Fantasy is responsible for some of the coolest moments in franchise history. Whether she is chilling our spines with the snap of her fingers or turning into a motorcycle, we are always happy to see her. She represents the feminine and thoughtful sides of the themes of Final Fantasy, and like her counterpart, got to truly shine during the endgame for 15. Both appear to have starring roles in the upcoming 16th entry of the series, and I for one won't be surprised if Shiva steals the show. Again. And number 1, Bahamut. It might be tempting for a cynic to dismiss Bahamut as just another dragon. Its original iterations didn't depart much from traditional depictions of the common fantasy beasts, but over the years Bahamut has evolved into a myriad of iterations that all bring something unique and special. They got 3 different versions of him into FF7 alone. It's hard to imagine Final Fantasy without the King of Dragons. He's been there from the beginning and evolved right alongside the series and the other summons. Much like the games themselves, on the surface, Bahamut might not look that much different from plenty of other fantasy dragons, but the deeper you dig, the more you find great stories and great beasts unlike any other. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to H-Bomb for editing, and thank you to Your Noble Truths, Avarincus, and Final Fantasy Piano Music for the music. As always, a huge shout out to our Patreon subscribers. You can subscribe for as little as $1 and get all kinds of Final Fantasy content, including over 90 in-depth podcasts over at patreon.com/ffweekly. If you're interested in other nerdy talk like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, MCU, DCEU, and more, check out patreon.com/DC Productions. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below to our channel and to all the contributors who help make it possible.